Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for computer applications online at Ozarka College. In this last part of Excel Module 2, in the last video here, I'm going to take you through the steps in formatting the worksheet. Okay, so if you haven't already worked through the first two videos for this module, you'll need to work through that first. At this point in this workbook, we have inserted all the titles and the numbers in the worksheet, and then we've also inserted all of the formulas and functions in the worksheet. So now we're ready on page 2-23 in your book. We are ready to format the worksheet. So if you'll notice there in the two pictures there on page 2-23, it shows us what the worksheet looks like right now, which is unformatted, and then what it should look like when we get done formatting it. And so just kind of look at that and kind of see what we're going to kind of do as we go through and format the worksheet. Alright, on page 2-24, the first thing it wants us to do as far as formatting the worksheet to make it easier to read, easier to understand, is we're going to click the Page Layout tab up on the ribbon, and we're going to change the theme. We're going to click the Themes button on the far left of the Page Layout tab sheet, and that opens up the various themes gallery, the various themes in the themes gallery. And then what we're going to do is choose the gallery theme. Alright, so we're going to need to scroll through until we find the gallery theme, which is that one right there. So just scroll through that list until you find the gallery theme and click on it. And just like the themes that we've used before in Word and in Excel, a theme just basically applies a lot of formatting at one time. Alright, and make sure that everything is kind of consistent in the formatting of your worksheet. Alright. Next thing we're going to do on page 2-25 is we're going to display the Home tab up on the ribbon. So click the Home tab, and we're going to format the title of the worksheet. We're going to merge and center it across the width of the worksheet. So we learned how to do that in Module 1. So all we're going to do is click on cell A1, use the block plus sign mouse pointer to drag through K1, and then we're going to click the Merge and Center button in the Alignment group of the Home tab. Alright, so you're going to click Merge and Center, and then you're going to do the same thing for the subtitle. So we're going to click on cell A2, drag to K2, and click Merge and Center. Alright, so we've got the title and subtitle centered across the width of our worksheet. Next thing it wants us to do is select the range A1 and A2. Alright, A1 through A2, which is our title and subtitle. And we're going to apply the title cell style to those two cells. So we're going to go up here to the Cell Styles More button and click on that so we can see the gallery of various styles that we can apply to those cells. And it wants us to again apply the title cell style, which is under titles and headings. So we're going to click on title there, and it just applies that title formatting to those two cells. Then we're going to click on cell A2, and we're going to click the decrease font size button one time. It's on the far right of the font group of the Home tab. You're going to click on the decrease font size button one time for cell A2, just so that the subtitle is a little bit smaller font size than the main title. Alright, and once we've done that, we're going to move to page EX2-26 in the book, and we're going to select the range A1 through A2 again. And we're going to apply a fill color. So we need to go to the fill color button arrow right here, the little button that looks like a little tipped over paint can. We're going to click the arrow next to that button so that it opens up the gallery or palette of colors that we can choose from to fill those cells with. And it wants us to apply the Indigo Accent 5 Lighter 80% Fill Color, alright, which is column 9, row 2. Alright. It is this one right here. Indigo Accent 5 Lighter 80%. So we're going to click right there, and it applies that fill color to those two cells at the top of our worksheet. Then we're going to click the borders arrow, which is over to the left of the fill color button that we just used. I'm going to click the borders button arrow, and we're going to click on outside borders. Alright, and that just adds an outside border to those two cells, just to kind of offset it from the rest of the worksheet, to make it stand out more. Alright, then we're going to click on an empty cell of our worksheet, like cell A17, just so we can see the results of our formatting. And you'll want to look at yours and compare it to what you see there in the book, and make sure it's correct. Make sure that your title and subtitle are formatted correctly. Alright, once we've done that, we're going to now start formatting the rest of the worksheet. So we're going to select cells A3 through K3, which are basically our column titles, and we're going to apply the heading 3 cell style to that range. So we're going to go up to the cell styles button arrow and click on it, and we're going to find the heading 3 style, which is right there. Okay, we're going to click on heading 3, and it applies that formatting to those cells. We're also going to need to click the center button in the alignment group, not merge and center in this case, just the center button. Alright, so just the center button there. And then we're going to apply the total cell style to the range A13 through K13. So down here on our total row, which is row 13, we're going to click on cell A13 and drag through cell K13 and go up to the cell styles gallery, and we're going to click on the total cell style. Alright, and then it also wants us to bold the titles, the row titles in cells A14 through A16. So we're going to do that. We're going to click on cell A14, drag through A16, excuse me, and then we're going to click on the bold button. Alright, so we've got all that formatting done. Now on page 2-28, it wants us to format the dates and center some data in some of the other cells in our worksheet. So we're going to select K4 through K12, which is basically all the cells with the higher dates for all of our employees in it. And once we've got that range selected, we're going to click the Home tab up on the ribbon, and then we're going to click the dialog box launcher for the number group on the Home tab. Alright, right here. I'm going to click on that dialog box launcher, and that'll open up the Format Cells dialog box. Make sure that the number tab is selected up here. And then in the category list, you're going to make sure that date is selected. So if it's not already selected, click date. And then we want to click the date format that's shown there in the picture on the top of page 2-28, which it wants us to select this one right here, which is 3/14/12. Okay, so you're going to select that date format, and then you're going to click OK. And so it will change the date format of all those dates that we entered into column K. Alright, and basically all it did was it changed instead of a 4-digit year, it changed it to a 2-digit year, is the main change that it made there. Alright, once we've done that, it wants us to select cells C4 through C16. So C4 through C16, which is our number of dependents for our employees. and it wants us to center those. So we're going to click the center button in the alignment group, okay, to center those in each cell. And then you're going to click on cell E4 just to deselect that range so you can see the results of your formatting. Alright, now that we've got basically all the titles formatted in our worksheet, the next step is to format the numbers in the worksheet. And we learned how to do this in Module 1, so we're basically going to do this one the same way. We're going to select the range E4 through H4. So E4 through H4. And then while holding down the Control key, you're going to click on cell J4. And then also while holding down the Control key, while continuing to hold down the Control key, you're going to select the range F13 through H13 and click on cell J13. Okay. Basically, we're needing to apply the accounting number format to the top row of cells that are currency in our worksheet and the bottom row that are currency. Some of the numbers are not currency, and that's why we skipped over some of the ones that aren't currency, like hours worked and tax percentage are not currency. So obviously we would not want to add a $sign or basically the accounting number format to those cells. That's why we had to skip over column I. Okay. Once we had those two ranges selected, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the accounting number format button on the number group of the home tab and click on it, and that applies the accounting number format to those numbers in those cells. And then what we're going to do is select the ranges E5 through H12, and then while holding down the Control key, you're going to select J5 through J12. So again, we're skipping column I because we don't want to apply a currency style to a percentage number. Okay. Alright, so once we've got those two ranges selected, we're going to go up and click on the comma style button up on the home tab. Okay, that just applies that comma style to that range, or those ranges. Alright, next thing we're going to do is select cells D4 through D16. So D4 through D16. And click the comma style button up on the home tab. Okay, and then on page 2-30, we're going to select the ranges E14 through H16. And then hold down the Control key as you select J14 through J16. So again, the bottom portion of our worksheet, we're skipping those numbers that are not going to be currency. Okay? Alright. And on these cells at the bottom of the worksheet that we have selected, we are going to, instead of adding a fixed $sign in the cell, we're going to add what's called a floating $sign. And it talks about this on page 2-30 in your book at the top. Alright? When you want to add a floating $sign, what you do, instead of clicking the accounting number format button, what you do is you click the number dialog box launcher, just like we used earlier for formatting the date. And in this case, in the number, on the number tab, make sure you have the number tab selected. And then what you're going to do is click on currency under category. Make sure that we have 2 decimal places selected under the decimal places box. And then the $sign is the symbol. And we're going to choose the third option under negative numbers. Alright, so that of course we don't have any negative numbers in our worksheet, but if we did, that third option would show the negative numbers in parentheses instead of as a minus sign. Alright, so we're going to click OK there, and it'll format those cells with the floating dollar sign. You'll notice the difference in the position of the dollar sign here on these cells that we just formatted and the ones that we formatted up here. When you use the accounting number format button, it just adds a fixed dollar sign to the far left of the cell where there's space in between the dollar sign and the number. A floating dollar sign, which is what we did down here to these numbers down here on the bottom of the worksheet, there is no space between the dollar sign and the first digit of the number. All right, next thing on page 2-31, we need to select I4 through I15. So I4 through I15, which are basically all of our tax percentage numbers in column I. And we're going to apply the percent style to that range, which is the button right in between the accounting number format button and the comma style format buttons on the home tab. So we're going to click on that percent style button. And then we also want to increase the decimal places to 2. Right now it doesn't have any decimal places, so all those numbers are whole numbers. And so what we're going to do to increase the decimal places by 2 is we're going to click on the increase decimal button twice. Alright, so it adds 2 decimal places to the numbers there. Alright, so we've got that done. Our next step is we're going to do some conditional formatting. A conditional formatting tool in Excel, basically what it does is it allows us to format in a special way any cells that meet a particular condition. Okay? In our case, we're going to use the hours worked for each of our employees and have it basically alert us through special formatting those employees that reach a certain number of hours in a 2-week period of time. Alright, so that we can kind of keep track of our overtime and so forth. Alright, so what we're going to do to apply the conditional formatting is we're going to select the range D4 through D12, and we're going to click the conditional formatting button up on the home tab, and then you're going to click New Rule on the conditional formatting menu. And then up at the top where it says select a rule type, you're going to find the rule that says format only cells that contain. You're going to click on that. Okay, format only cells that contain. And then it will open up an edit rule description box down at the bottom. And what we want to do is we want to find all of those employees that have hours worked greater than 70. So this relational operator right here that right now says between in this second box down here, we're going to change that to greater than. Alright, and then the last box we're going to type in 70 because we want to find all those cell values in that range that are over 70. Alright, then what we're going to do, once we've got the rule set, we need to specify what kind of formatting we want to apply to those cells that meet the condition. So we're going to click the Format button down here at the bottom of the New Formatting Rule dialog box, and that'll open up the Format Cells dialog box. And then what we want to do is the font color that we want to choose is white background 1. So we're going to make sure the font tab is selected up here, and over in the color box down here we're going to choose the white background 1 color. Okay, and then we're going to click the Fill tab. Alright, and we're going to choose the color that you see there in the picture on the bottom of page 2-33. It's the top row of colors on the top row, and the 8th column. Okay, it's the color on the first row and 8th column, that one right there. Alright, so we're going to click on that. Just kind of look and make sure that your color is correct. You can look at the sample down here. The sample area will show you what fill color you chose. And then click OK at the bottom of that dialog box. And then click OK again. And then click on an empty cell so you can see the results of your formatting. And then look at the picture there on page 2-34. It shows you which cells in that range, in that column D, should be formatted conditionally. And basically it should only be applying the formatting to those cells that met the condition, which was basically cell value over 70, greater than 70. Okay? So once we've got that done, we've verified that. If you don't get it right the first time, just undo and go back and reapply the conditional formatting and make sure and just do it until you get it correct. Okay? On the bottom of page 2-35, it talks about best fit, which we learned about in Module 1. So when we want to adjust column widths, one easy way to do it, to make sure that the column width is set to the widest entry in the column, is to set it to best fit. And the way you do that is you double click on the right boundary of the column heading. Alright? Now what we want to do in our case is we want to do several column widths at one time. So we're going to point to the column A heading, the top of our worksheet, where the mouse pointer is pointing down towards the column, and then we're going to drag over through column C. Alright, so that columns A through C headings are selected, and then we're going to point to the right boundary of the column C heading and double click. And all that does is that sets the column width to best fit for all three of those columns that we had selected. Alright, once we've done that, we're going to click on the column H heading, and column H, we want to change that width to a manual setting. So we're not going to set it to best fit. What we're going to do instead of double clicking on the right boundary, we're going to drag the right boundary of the column H heading until 10.38 displays in the box, okay, in the screen tip box. Alright, and then we're going to change some of these other column widths. So on page 2-37, we want to click the column D heading, and then while holding down the control key, we're going to select the column E heading and the column I heading, so that columns D, E, and I are all selected. And then you're going to point to the right side of the column I heading and drag that drag the right side of that column I heading until 10.50 displays as the width. Okay, so you're going to do that. And then we're going to click on the column F heading and drag through the column G heading so that F, G, and H are selected. I'm sorry, just F and G. So click on F heading and drag through the G heading, so F and G. And then while holding down the control key, you're going to also drag from J through K so that we have F, G, J, and K selected. And then we're going to point to the right boundary of the column G heading and change the column width to 11.13. Alright, once you get that done, all of those will be adjusted to that size. And then we're going to click on an empty cell like cell A17. And now we need to change the row height of some of the cells in our worksheet. So we're going to point to the boundary below the row 3 heading. And we're going to drag down until 39.00 displays as the row height. Alright. And then we're going to point to the boundary below the row 14 heading and drag down until 24.00 displays as the row height. Alright, basically what we did was we just added a little bit of extra space for the column headings, and then we added a little bit of space in between the total row and the highest, lowest, and average values at the bottom of the worksheet. Alright, once you've done that, you'll want to go through and check the spelling of your worksheet, and I'm just going to let you do that on your own. Alright, just correct any errors that you have there. We also need to save the changes that we've made so far to the worksheet by clicking the Save button. Alright, so we're going to do that. On page 2-42 in your book, it tells you how you can add a header to your worksheet. So what we're going to do is click the Page Layout button on the status bar. So down here, I'm going to click Page Layout, and that opens up Page Layout View. And then we're going to click the Page Layout tab up on the ribbon. We're going to click the Margins button, and we're going to change the margins to narrow. We're going to click Narrow for the margins. And then we're going to click the center of the header there, where it says Add Header. And we're going to type in what's shown there on step 3 on page 2-43 in your book. We're going to type in Madeline Samuels, and then we're going to press enter and type in her title, which is Chief Financial Officer. Alright, and then just click on cell A6 to deselect the header. And then you're going to click the Page Layout tab up on the ribbon again, and click the Orientation button, and click Landscape to change it to Landscape Orientation. What we're doing here is just making it where we're going to be able to get all of the worksheet on one page. Of course, we're not actually printing this for our purposes, but if you were going to print it and bring it to a meeting or print it for some other reason, then you would need it to all print on one page. So that's what we're showing how to do here. Alright. Then what you're going to do is click on the Normal button on the status bar, Normal View button, to switch back to Normal View. And then to verify that you would be able to get this whole worksheet on one page, what you can do is click File up on the ribbon, the File tab, to go to Backstage View. Click on Print, and it will show a print preview of what the worksheet would look like. And you'll notice that some of the columns have pound signs or hash marks. That just means the column is not wide enough right now with the settings that we have. And so we're going to try to fix that. Let's first go into scaling here. Down here at the bottom where it says no scaling, click on that and click on Fit Sheet to One Page. Alright, that will just fit the entire worksheet to one page. Now what you need to do is click the back button to go back to the worksheet, to go out of Backstage View, and just kind of look on your worksheet if there are any columns that still have the pound signs when you switch back to normal view, then you'll need to double click on the right boundary of those column headings to widen out the column. Okay, and that's really all those little pound signs mean, is just that the column's not wide enough. So you can easily adjust that by double clicking on the right boundary of the column heading. Okay, alright, and the rest of the module I'm just going to let you kind of work through. Again, we're not actually printing this, so a lot of the last part of this just shows you how you would print different portions of the worksheet. So I'm just going to let you work through that. So at this point, what you would need to do is, of course, save the changes that you've made to the worksheet by clicking the Save button, and then you're going to look at the example at the very beginning of the module. on page EX 2-2, figure 2-1 there, and just verify that your worksheet looks just like the one in the book there. Okay? Verify that you've inserted all the formulas and functions and not just entered the numbers there. Make sure that you've applied the conditional formatting and the other formatting to the worksheet. Just kind of check it row by row and make sure that everything is correct. Once you get everything correct, save it for the final time, and then go ahead and upload it into Ozarka. And that concludes this video for Excel Module 2. Thank you.